Hello and welcome, Melissa Foote. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
That's great. Thanks for dropping in for our cameo Business Advisory Show appearances at MYOB Partner Connect 2019.
Not a problem.
Would you mind, for our viewers and listeners out there, just introducing yourself and what you've been up to? We run in very similar circles, of course, and we're friends on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. Tell me about yourself and your business.
Okay, so I have a little bit of a diverse business. I still have a small consultancy practice, so I'm a registered agent, and I also have an RTO. So in the RTO space, we're a small niche RTO that we specialise in financial services and business services qualifications, and that's basically us. So at the Cert 4 and diploma level.
Yeah. Fantastic. And I understand you also are a bit of a fix-it person that comes in and solves problems for accountants and bookkeepers.
Yeah, a lot of the work that I tend to do now, even for clients, is it's going in and fixing things, usually at the sort of that level where they've made a mess and they need it fixed. And so a lot of it's one-on-one training or just resolving issues within their business.
Now, is that also around the implementation of systems pricing or products or software and things like that? Is that some of those issues as well?
Yes, it'll include those things, and it's really often a review of the business at all levels. So sometimes a bit of an audit, go in and have a look at how things are running, and then going from there.
Yeah, great. And I believe you're part of XeroCon coming up as well. You're on a panel as well?
I will be, so on day 2.
Yeah, fantastic. So we tend to get in around to these circles, don't we?
Yes.
Now, you and I were off camera just a moment ago. We were having a really interesting talk about something we clearly agree on, and that is the massive issue or role that self-esteem and self-confidence plays in business advisory, particularly with bookkeepers and accountants. Yeah,
absolutely. Through the ICB, so I'm also a non-executive director of ICB, and I've been running network meetings for around about 9 years, and what I've noticed in this space and in our industry is a lot of lack of confidence and self-esteem, especially around clients in terms of how they should be billing, advisory, and even taking holidays and looking after themselves.
I
real
understand.
Issue.
Yep. Now, what I believe is that small business owners have never needed more active, forthright accounting and bookkeeping advice or business advisory support to run a small business.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I used to call myself the work wife. So come in with a stick and say, look, you better do what you're meant to. Otherwise, you're going to go down a bad path.
And why is it that self-esteem is such a big issue, do you think, when the small business world really is now quite thirsty for, longing for more advice from bookkeepers and accountants? What do you see there?
In terms of
self-esteem and
for them towards their clients. Yeah, I think it is. It's just that lack of belief in themselves that they can actually do it, or that they can charge the value that they're worth. And really, I think they will give away their own, what's the word for it? Their own health and wellness and well-being for their client. They would rather sort of go without so that their client has what they need. So they tend to sort of put their client first rather than thinking about themselves.
So that's a bit like putting your own mask on before you worry about the kids on the flight or the safety instructions. They're not looking after themselves.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And it's not always the best way to support your clients, really. I think if you were to sort of enable them a little bit more, then maybe they can take something back for themselves.
Yeah. And what is it about underpricing or not having the confidence to value the pricing of services? Now, why is that such a big issue?
I think, once again, it just goes back to that lack of confidence and not believing that that's what they're worth, or that the client won't pay it. So, and also too, a lot of people tend to not look at their yearly reviews. So a lot of people don't have in place within their contracts even just a regular CPI increase or anything like that.
Yeah,
so
that's a great point.
they stick at the same prices and tend to believe that they need to stick at that to remain okay in the market.
Yeah, and maybe it's a fear of losing a client by changing your pricing structure as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues is we often see with bookkeepers and accountants is that they don't slow down enough to get in the helicopter, get above the business, and
Yes.
start redesigning the business by design instead of continuing to do business by default.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So working in the business rather than on it,
Yeah.
which is typical, quite typical.
Yeah. Okay, that's fantastic. What's the one thing that you believe is going to be the most important issue for accountants and bookkeepers in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think managing change, because we have so much. So that is another issue. I think that's another thing that people struggle with, is actually the fear of what's coming up. And there has been a huge amount of change in legislation and in our software and IT and all of that sort of thing. So it is a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
So it is. I think it's looking at managing change and thinking about where they exist within our space.
And perhaps even also on that note, being proactive and actually recognising what changes to make first, because otherwise there's too many dominoes and we can't line them up in the right order.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's where they can end up in a little bit of problems. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great.
pleasure.
And
Thank you.
look forward to seeing you on the circuit.
Thank you.